So, you've heard about this new trend, vibe coding, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So using AI to do the coding for you. I think most of the time that doesn't work out the way that everybody expects it to, but it actually does kind of work out sometimes. And as far as I can tell, not a single person that I talk to in any of the communities that I'm in are really excited about AI and what it can and maybe can't do in software development. But that's not stopping the Qt project from throwing a little bit of it in there.
I personally hear you, and I feel like, obviously we both have education ties, and so that's not a great necessarily thing for the learners to be, at least initially be standing on the crutch of AI coding for you.
I mean, it's like AI is kind of like wearing the little floaty things when you're learning to swim, right? You can't learn to swim for real unless you take the floaties off and swim for real.
Right. And I think there's time and place for everything, and this might actually be a little too far for me. I mean, that's where I'm at.
Okay, well, one of the things that the Qt project has implemented in their IDE is AI generated inline comments.
All right, so you got me there. I mean, I think that's actually a really good use case. So this is the good. We're hitting on the good first.
This is where AI is going to ingest, because I hesitate to say the word understand. It's going to ingest a block of code and tell you what that code is doing.
Or at least line by line commenting on it, right?
Right. And so this is going to save developers time by not having to write their own comments. This is a great thing, right? Like,
that's a pretty mundane task, and obviously you can look at what the code is doing and hopefully, in small blocks, figure out what the comments should more or less be. You can obviously salt it up a little bit with your own flavor, but it gets the ball rolling on a very menial task, if you will. Something that's very repetitive. You're going to repeat yourself a lot with that. So having the machine crank that out for you, that makes sense. And ultimately, it doesn't impact any of the code there because it's a comment.
Right. And that's kind of the goal with all of the AI stuff, right? Is to make your life easier by doing the stuff that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And
the repetitive things.
Yeah. And if you look at the state of a lot of the projects out there on GitHub, it is quite obvious that ain't nobody like to write comments about it.
Or documentation or code or any of that, right? Yeah. No, none of that's happening, really.
Yeah, unless they are negative comments inside of an issue that they've opened about whether or not you should pay your developers or something like that, right?
Yeah, and I suppose it could comment something incorrectly, but ultimately, like I said, it doesn't impact how the code runs.
Right. Okay. So as long as we're hands off the code, okay. All right.
I'm good with that. That's where I'm at.
What if we're kind of in the middle? So another thing that we're implementing in the Qt IDE is Google test creation. So while we are allowing AI to write the code, we're not allowing AI to write the code that's actually going to be run. We're asking AI to write code to test the code that will ultimately be run. So what do you think about that then?
I'm a little skeptical here because hear me out. I mean, how do you test the test? How do you know that the test is doing the right test against your thing?
Well, of course, anybody that would be writing or using AI to create these Google test creation things to actually test their code is obviously going through line by line to make sure that every single one of those tests is doing exactly what they expect it to do, and then the output of the test is also scrutinized very heavily.
100% not.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, no. Nobody's going to do that. I mean,
it's like one of those comment things, right? Like, I definitely don't want to do that, so, no.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like okay, maybe get you started on it, I suppose. But I mean, ultimately, I feel like only you know what you need to test here. So you kind of should be writing your own test suite, I feel like.
Well, I would suppose that you can kind of point the AI in a, well, I want you to create this kind of test, right? So, I mean,
Maybe.
it shouldn't, you shouldn't be just saying, test it all. Good luck.
Well,
right?
I mean, I don't know if you watch the example on the blog there, it kind of looks like they just highlighted a whole bunch of code and said, make me a test.
Oh.
Using the Google Test Suite, whatever that is, I don't even know what that does. So
yeah, it kind of blows a hole in my whole theory there. So
a little bit. I mean, I guess, but maybe it's great. Maybe it does the thing correctly, but I just have great reservation.
Well, Google has the all-seeing eye. I'm sure they've ingested all of GitHub, GitLab, and every other Git repository that could ever exist in all of everywhere.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, using all of those tests that have already been pre-written, then it would then create good code to test already new code, right? That's.
Yeah.
I mean, we've allowed Google to do this. Surely that means that the AI that they have trained can generate good tests. Surely.
Yeah, I don't know that we allowed Google to do anything, but
well, we haven't stopped them.
They did it.
So
we didn't stop them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there were plenty of people screaming, but there wasn't really any action by the entities, not the people that were screaming. The entities that could take action took no action. So de facto, we allowed them to do it. So, okay. All right, that's kind of in the middle.
So I got some skepticism there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all right. Well, how about text streaming? Okay, so hold on. A little background on this. The example that they have on the Qt developer blog is basically taking a block of code that you have defined some stuff and then you've set some values. They have colors specifically in
as
that
the
one,
example.
right? So
yeah.
Yeah, so you can kind of imagine like some kind of desktop application or whatever, and you're like, I want the whole thing to be blue. And instead of going in there manually changing it to, after you've changed your mind, I want it to all be red, you highlight the code block and say, you know what, all these colors, change them to red. And then the AI assistant will pump out the code that would be used to do that, and then you're meant to copy and pasta it straight back on top of the old code block so that the changes are now implemented. So we've seen an incremental step from writing comments about a block of code to testing written code by a human using AI tests to actually letting AI put its little tendrils all over your code. So you see the whole entire gradient of AI's writing code now. Now, while at least in these examples, it's not writing the whole code.
Yeah.
Does the gradient continue?
Boy, I hope not. I mean, I feel like that might even be a little too far for me. I mean, I'd like to think that you know how to do that sort of thing. Like, at least before we go leaning on the AI stuff real hard.
Right.
I just, you made the analogy, is AI the new calculator of the modern age?
Right, because I've heard that particular comparison quite often, and it's really hard to come up with a good argument as to why it isn't, because the only thing I can come up with is the same exact thing that people against the calculator came up with. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to see the distinction there.
I'm just worried, right? Like I'm worried here. I learned how to do longhand division and did that a lot before,
me too.
Before someone tossed a calculator my direction. And would I use the calculator now? Yeah, perhaps, but I still know how to do it if I had to. Most of the time in my head, but like if it's really complicated, then yeah, okay, maybe I need to write it all out. And I don't know. I hope we aren't losing those concepts. I hope we aren't just, tossing the calculators at the first graders and saying, go nuts. You don't have to learn how to.
Maybe in the future, but at least the current crop they're still doing it longhand.
Right. But to add on to that, I hope, people don't see, like, I want to do a career change and, AI will just write the code for me. I don't have to learn it. And, no, it doesn't work that way, folks. It's an assistant at best. And it can help guide you, maybe get you unstuck, that sort of thing. But it shouldn't be a replacement. Yeah, copy pasta has gone too far.
Yeah, so vibe coding, the idea that AI is going to write all your code for you is not really set in reality for you. Is not really a thing. You can't do that.
I hope not for a while. It needs to get way better than it is.
So, would you liken highlighting a block of code and letting the AI change a lot of the values, if not add new values? Would that be vibe coding, or are we just getting real close to it?
We're getting real close to it. I think we're right on the edge, if not over it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
If you could highlight a block of code and it can kind of give you some explanation of what's going on, I guess that's more of an education tool. And at that point, it's teaching you something. Yeah. Hopefully correctly.
Maybe. You hope so.
But I mean, I wouldn't feel as bad about that because like it's helping your education so that you can do it yourself. I don't want it doing it for me. I just don't. I think it's just a really hard thing to resist, right? It's very much you get trapped into it. Like I feel like it grabs a hold of you.
Right. And I mean, it's like someone without any artistic ability themselves still being able to go in and write a prompt to Midjourney and still get stuff out that is quite good, depending on who you are, what you're looking for, if that hits the nail on the head or not.
Six fingers are okay. It's fine.
Yeah, well, you're right. You just cut the hands off. Just crop it, and then no one will know. Call of Duty. No one will know that the Santa has the Santa zombie has 6 fingers.
I mean, he's a zombie. That's kind of fun.
Right? Yeah, he just sprouted one when he turned. But it's the same kind of idea, right? It's just enticing to be able to say that, like, oh, I want a recipe app, or I want a cooking app, or I want a whatever app, and it's it's wishful thinking that you can just go to AI and be like, make me that app. Here's all the things. Here's a bunch of bullet points of what I want. And then it be able to spit you out an APK or publish directly to the Apple Store or Apple app, whatever thing. And, be able to hit the install button. I think that's what a lot of people are looking for. I think that's what, when people hear about what AI can do, I think that's kind of immediately where you go. If you're looking for software, that's where your mind goes with that kind of thing.
It's a lot like this. You watch, those 42-minute TV shows, and they always solve everything within the show. Yeah. That's not actually reality, folks. I mean, AI isn't the shortcut. It's the TV episode. It's not necessarily a replacement for the real thing. That's all. That's the way I look at it.
That's pretty good. So, okay. So if the Qt folks are integrating all of this AI stuff into their IDE, does that then mean that the Qt folks are also using this to develop a lot of the underlying Qt framework? I keep saying Qt, but it's Qt, right? Isn't that right?
Qt, yeah.
But
Qt,
they're
Qt. They're both acceptable, I would imagine.
But would that then mean that they're using this for the underlying Qt
framework? They implemented it into their IDE, so I mean, yeah, someone's using it. Whether they're all using it, or a few are using it, or none are using it, I don't know the answer to that.
I would suspect that it's not none, and then kind of hedging with that bet. Does that also mean that some of this AI generated code is going to end up in and around Plasma and the KDE framework and a lot of the applications that are developed for it?
Well, some of the underlying Qt libraries would probably definitely contain that then, if that's the way they're going. So I guess by proxy, they would be.
So where does that put us?
Does that taint your view of Plasma now?
Right. And I don't know that I don't know how the Plasma folks feel about this, right? Like, and I don't even know that this is actually going to be reality, right? But it sure seems like
it's probably getting used some. Like I said, I feel like the inline comment thing, that's probably pretty powerful for a lot of people to be able to have that stuff, just to kind of know what's going on.
Yeah. An interesting thought.
I don't know. Hopefully it's not going too far.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to think that everybody involved with every one of these projects is just absolutely against AI all the way down. So
yeah,
it's just going to be an inevitability, it seems like, that there's going to be at least a modest amount of AI-generated code in everything. Yeah,
probably true. And I just hope we take the cautious approach and implement things in a slow nature so that we know what we're getting into. Things are tested well, working well, and you don't end up with glue on your pizza.
Well, I mean, obviously the Google tests that are generated by AI are tested also. It's going to be tested well, that'll be obviously.
Yeah, it's still a pizza with glue.
Yeah,
it's just not tasty.
Well, I'm going to cross my fingers.
Hopefully we don't go to that.
Yeah, so if you haven't smashed that like button, I don't even like saying it. But if you haven't actually clicked or tapped on the like, subscribe bell, all that stuff, do that. Because,
here somewhere.
Yeah, because I like you too. So yeah, don't forget all of our stuff ends up out on YouTube. The full episodes as they release in podcast form as well. And I mean, if you only see us on YouTube, yeah, there's actually an audio only podcast. You can go to linuxuserspace.show to get the information on that. It's just a regular old RSS feed. So if you're allergic to YouTube or whatever, and you're not listening to us on an RSS feed, you can do that. There is a raw feed, so you can grab that from the site. But also, which we're recording this on a Wednesday, which means that tomorrow morning, the history episode that we did in the previous episode is going to be dropping out there on YouTube, of course, but also on the edutainment platform of the internet, TILvids. Mm-hmm. So if you are, again, allergic to YouTube, you can subscribe to us over on TILvids, get all of the edutainment, all of the educational, all of the history, all of that kind of thing over there, and just kind of enjoy the Federated-verse with us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that also means we're all over the Fediverse, right? So not just with the TILvids account. We got the old Mastodon, we got Lemmy, and all that other kind of federated nonsense. So yeah, if you haven't followed us along on one of those places, you can do that, get all the updates and all of the goings on as well. But if you like us just a little bit more than wanting to click a subscribe button, over on patreon.com/LinuxUserspace, you can send us $1 or more and get more than just the announcements. $1 gets you like a Lemmy username with our linuxuserspace.show @ handle on it. $3 will get you the show before the show drops. $5 will get you the show before the show in audio form, and $10 will get you the show before the show in video form. But also, you can sit in here while we're doing all of this stuff and just kind of hang out, add your comments, let us know what you think as we're doing it, and
right
hopefully
here in the
little
studio.
Breaks. Yeah, in the little breaks that we have between segments, we'll see if we can't have a little banter back and forth.
Yeah, definitely.
So shoot us $1 over at Patreon, and subscribe to us all over the place.
Yeah, we appreciate your support, no matter how you give it to us.